You're listening to Little Green Cheese, episode 91. Well, welcome back, Curd Nerds. I'm Gavin Weber, and this is where you can learn about cheese making at home. I had a wonderful opportunity about a year ago. I've been holding on to this audio and footage for quite a while. I had a consultation with a lovely lady called Wendy Parrington-Jones, who lives over the other side of Melbourne in the Yarra Valley. Lovely lady, asked lots of questions. Now, this was recorded in 2021, so some of the topics are a little bit dated, but that's okay. We do talk one heck of a lot about cheese making and all the basics of cheese making and all the things that she had. Well, all the questions that she had, I gave answers for. So that was fantastic. So a big thank you to Wendy for letting me share the interview or the consultation. So let's get on and watch the consultation between myself and Wendy Parrington-Jones. Alrighty, so how can I help you?
I've got lots of questions and I haven't got an order that they're in, Gavin. I've just written them down as they've occurred.
All right.
So I was fortunate enough to have a friend in America who bought me a curd harp.
Right, yep.
One of the beautiful ones like you have.
Oh, the ones from Steve, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And because Steve wouldn't send them, that's why my friend, sent him to buy it and send it to me. But when I go to use it, and I don't know whether this has got something to do with it, but I almost exclusively use made by cow milk.
Right, yep. So the Jersey one or the new one in the blue bottle?
I haven't tried the Frisian blue bottle one as yet because I hadn't realised that might be the issue.
Yeah.
But when I put the curd harp in and go to cut,
the whole lot spins around. Yeah. That's because the curd set's so strong with that Jersey milk. It's like raw milk, but, on steroids. Yeah. So what you got to do is either ease back on the rennet by 25% because it sets such a firm curd set, right?
Yep.
And it's like you could bounce a tennis ball off it. That's how hard the curd set is, right?
I don't ever have to put the knife in to check. I just shake the pot. And
It's like a jelly mass, but firmer.
Yes.
Yeah. So what you're gonna have to do, like I said, ease off 20. If you're exclusively using made by cow milk, the Jersey version, because of the high fat content and the way they process it, then just ease off on the rennet, and that'll help you out. Okay. And then you'll be able to turn it and do whatever you need to. And
would it make a difference if I use the blue milk, the Frisian
definitely
milk?
So I use the blue milk. Remember the video, the Great Cypriot Fry Off?
Yes.
Yeah. So I found that when I used the Jersey milk, it was really solid. The curd set was super firm. But when I used the Frisian milk, it was like I was using normal pasteurized but unhomogenized milk, the stuff I get from Inglenook Dairy.
Okay.
And that was, kind of what I was used to. But, the flavor was still there because it was like raw milk. But the strength of the curd set wasn't as strong. So because I used my normal amount of rennet, so that was fine. And it's cheaper too. So it's cheaper by $1 or something, I think. So try using that one if you can get it as well, because the flavor afterwards is superior than pasteurized milk as far as I'm concerned. So
it's like milk was when we were kids.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up on a dairy farm, and we used to drink it straight from the chiller because no processing whatsoever. Just put a cup under there, and it was great. Yeah. So creamy.
I wasn't that lucky, but my grandparents were dairy farmers. I did, after I watched the Cypriot cheese fry off, that was when I went, maybe I need to have a go at the blue milk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
if you're looking for a milk that's a cheese that's extra creamy, then stick with the Jersey because of the high fat content. It's like 5.1 or 5.2 or something.
Yeah.
I think the Frisian one's about 3.8, which
What
is
kind of cheeses would best suit the black
the high
label?
fat one.
Mm.
Probably cheeses like the creamy Dutch cheeses like Edam and Gouda and Leerdama, even Jarlsberg, which it's Norwegian, but it's still a really high fat sort of cheese.
Okay.
And any of the soft cheeses, it's perfect. Jersey milk's perfect for because it's so creamy.
So like camemberts and things.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I think the raw milk camembert, I made it with that Jersey milk. Yeah. So and it
Yes,
was
I haven't
fantastic.
I haven't managed to get mine to flow like yours do,
Oh, okay.
but they are pretty nice.
Yeah. So just a little bit of, if you want them oozy like that, just in that first 10 days, just make sure the temperature's around 13 degrees Celsius. And then if it starts to feel soft, you press it and it feels a little
Yep.
bit soft, perfect time to wrap it, put it in the normal fridge at 4 degrees, and then it'll ripen out a lot slower and you won't get it like runny milk when you open it. So
Yeah, okay.
because that first 10 days is really important, because that's when all the proteolysis happens. That's when the proteins break down in the milk.
Yep.
And the higher the temperature, especially with Penicillium candidum, because that it speeds up the breakdown of the proteins. The higher the temperature, the faster the breakdown. So, but you don't want to go too crazy because it'll just turn into runny milk again. So
Yeah, yeah. That was kind of my next question.
yeah,
My curd cave is a wine fridge that somebody was giving away,
yeah.
and Duncan gathered up and said, "Do you want this?" It was fantastic,
Yeah.
except it's only got one zone.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah.
So
So, have you checked in the fridge itself? Put a thermometer on the different shelves.
there is one in there, but I haven't checked to see what
Yeah,
they
so
are.
I did the same thing with my. Well, I don't have a wine fridge because it's just in the laundry where I've got it. It's just too hot in the summer, and it used to go to 20 degrees. It'd never sit at 13, and all the cheeses would go bad. So that's why I swapped over to just a bar fridge with an external
Yeah,
thermostat on it. So so just test, and that's what I did. I had to test. So right down the bottom is actually the warmest in my fridge. Go figure, even though cold air sinks and hot air rises.
yeah.
But because the top unit is the fridge unit, the freezer unit. So if I put a white mold cheese into the freezer section, even though the fridge is set at 13 degrees Celsius, that stays at about 7 or 8 degrees because it turns on and off, and that's where the refrigerant is. But
Right.
with your wine fridge, it uses something called, I think it's called the Peltier effect, which it's kind of like an air conditioner, not a fridge. So if that makes sense. So it brings in
Oh,
cold air and exchanges it with hot air outside. So it's
yeah.
not like a
Yep.
normal fridge where it has
Yep.
the cold bars inside the fridge.
Mm.
Um, so get a thermometer and just move shelf, leave it there for an hour, check what the temperature is, then move it to each shelf and figure out the different temperatures, and then you'll be able to figure out, like zones.
Where to put which one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'd sort of, because I had a Caerphilly and a Bloomy Goat in there the other day and went, oh, what am I going to do? And I just picked an in-between temperature because I just couldn't work
yeah.
out what else to do.
Well, look, that works for most people because remember back in the old days, when they used real caves or just cellars, they couldn't control the temperature. It was, it'd fluctuate between, 13 to 15 degrees Celsius, sometimes lower, depends on your climate. But that was the normal sort of temperature. And it fluctuates. It's hard to control on a cave. So, they've been making cheese for thousands of years without too many problems and us worrying about fridge temperatures. So, like I said,
Well,
just test it, and you should be good to go.
That's a really good one. I got myself a sous vide stick.
Right, yeah.
I love it.
It's good, isn't it?
It is, because I'm not very tall, and to put my milk pot, if I was making something, a 10-litre cheese on a steam pot,
Yeah.
I had to have a box to stand on, or otherwise my shoulder was just so
Yeah.
painful. Well, now it's in the sink and it works beautifully.
It's so much easier. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had my sous vide for a whole year sitting in the cupboard before I actually opened it and used it. I'm such a dork. I wish I had opened it when I got it. I don't know. I was just being lazy. Who knows?
And there's no panic about you going to go over the temperature and whip it off and get it on some.
No, that's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's a great piece of equipment.
No, it's a good tool. It's a good tool. And there's so many people that say that the stainless steel in the kitchen sink, what is it? It's not a very good insulator. I know that, it's metal. But for 30 degrees, the tap water's bloody 44. You're sitting at 32. There's no big deal.
I put this cold water in, and then I use some of the, because we're on tank water, so I'm really loath to waste water at any rate.
Yeah.
And I just put a couple of thingos of water out of the pot that I've boiled everything in.
Yeah, that works.
Just put it in, and it warms it a little bit. So it doesn't take long to get up. Like when you said it took a long time, I thought, oh, okay, let's try something about putting some warm water to start with.
Yeah. But what I do, Wendy, is now I bring the milk to temperature on the stove without any double boiler, right? So I directly heat the milk to close, just under the target temperature, and then I whip it off and put it in the sink. So you'll see in the last few videos, that's what I've been doing. Is just directly heat it, make sure I'm stirring it all the time so it doesn't burn, and then put it straight into the water, and then I'm right to go. I can put the culture in straight away, and then forget about the temperature for the whole cheese make. So,
do you think there's a problem, like with the last couple of cheeses I've made? I've taken the milk out of the fridge when I've started to boil my, put the pot on to boil the spoons and things like that. Do you think that's an issue, having it on the bench until I, get the things boiled up and the sink ready?
No, not at all, because that's exactly what I do. So I leave the milk. It comes up to room temperature. It's only there for about 30 minutes odd, and then I just pour it into the pot, and you're right to go. So it won't spoil. It doesn't matter what sort of heat treatment it's had or pressure treatment. It won't spoil. It won't spoil within a day, really.
No.
So it's fine.
I just wasn't sure whether it might affect the cultures and how they behave.
No.
Okay. All righty. Now, some little while ago, I thought I'd have a go at some Parmesan. I think this is what's happened. I've got these little sachets that I bought from you, and I don't know what they're for. I think they're for making Parmesan.
Oh, okay. It doesn't have anything written on it?
Oh, it did. I'd have to go to the freezer and have a look. I can't remember what it said now. Culture cupboard.
Oh, yes. So the culture cupboard ones, there is a thermophilic starter culture, and they call it Parmesan and mozzarella thermophilic culture. So,
okay, well, I don't think that was written on the packet, but when I got the box out of the freezer the other day, I thought, oh, what have I bought these for?
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember, and I didn't
because I think I've got a few brands. So there's a thermophilic, because it's different than the MOT92. It's different strains, and it's really good for Parmesan and pasta filata style cheeses, so stretchy curd cheeses.
I'm not that brave yet.
Oh, you'll get there.
Maybe.
So have that, and then the other ones that I've got from Culture Cupboard are 2 yogurt cultures. So
no.
I don't have a mesophilic in the Culture Cupboard range.
Okay, so it's going to be Parmesan mozzarella.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Okay, alrighty. I've made quite a few camemberts very successfully. They've been fantastic.
Oh, good.
From your recipe, of course.
Oh, right.
and they've been fabulous. But the last ones I made seemed to be really full of whey, and they were just wet the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think they were ready to, to actually take out of the mold, or when I did, it was a real problem. They were very soft.
Yeah.
And so I just left them in there, and I turned them more. So instead of maybe the 6 hours for 24 hours, I left it longer, like 36 hours. What does that do to their development?
It doesn't do much at all, because the good thing is all it does is you're draining still, right? And if it's at room temperature, which is, about 20, between 20 and 25 degrees. I don't know what your room temperature. If it was a hot day, then maybe a bit of a problem. If
No,
it
it
was
would
a
have
cool
been.
day, that's fine, right? So no big
Oh,
deal.
okay.
Because the cultures, the higher the temperature, the more activity, the more more lactose the bacteria start to eat and convert into lactic acid. So if you keep them, if they're warm, they eat the lactose faster and faster and faster.
Okay.
Right. So at normal room temperature, and you draining them, even if you drained it for an extra day, it wouldn't have mattered. It
Yeah.
wouldn't have
Okay.
mattered. Yeah.
Yeah. I did, because I thought they were just too wet to
Yeah,
to
it could have been
out.
the curd cut, or it could have been, how big what are they called? The slivers of curd, when you cut them off with
Mm.
the skimmer. It depends on which method you use, because I've got a couple of camembert methods. But
I've only used the one you did with the raw cow's milk one. I
oh,
haven't.
okay. I think I cut the curds slightly, yeah. Only
You
in vertical columns, yeah.
Yes, and then slice them
And then
off.
slice them from that, yeah, which is a better
Yeah.
method than because the French, when they make Normandy camembert, they just scoop it with a scoop, just slices off, and then plonk them into
Oh,
their little things. But they're using
yeah.
raw milk, so
Mm,
the curds are a
mm,
lot firmer. So
mm. I having heard what you said, I think it was the temperature in our kitchen, because um, I, our kitchen would rarely get to 20 degrees.
yeah.
It would be under that. So that could have been the problem, that it was
Yeah,
too cool.
probably not so much, because the amount of moisture in the cheese is determined by how much rennet you've used, and how long the rennet time is. So how long you've made it set. The longer it sets, the more moisture it holds. That's why you notice on some cheeses the renneting time's only like 45 minutes, sometimes even 30 minutes, and they're really dry curds when you cut them, because the moisture comes out straight away, because the rennet hasn't had enough time to form its matrix properly. When you have,
Ah,
say,
yep.
camembert, that's why you let it ripen for an hour and a half, right?
Mm,
And then that they're holding more moisture. So
okay.
it
Yeah.
could be that. Look, unfortunately, cheese making is a very finicky thing, and sometimes, unless I'm there watching what's going on, it's difficult to diagnose. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so moisture can be curd size. It can be how much rennet you're using, the type of milk. So there's some of the factors. So
Okay.
you have a play around with it and see what happens. But like you said, if it's too moist, just try it for an extra day. It's no big deal.
Yeah. Okay. I did do that, and I just wasn't sure
They
whether it
turn
would
out all
make.
right then?
Yeah, they were quite edible, and it wouldn't matter. The little piggy wiggies I share with would just gobble it up anyway.
Good o.
Um, so I had to go at your bloomy goat, because I've always enjoyed because we live near Yarra Valley Dairy,
Yeah.
and their Sovereign, which I've now worked out is probably a Valence, but of course they're not allowed to call it that.
Yeah, they call it a different name. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I've always loved that. So I made your bloomy goat hoping it would be the same, but I haven't got little pyramid things. I just made.
Yeah, neither did I. So I just used camembert molds.
Yes, that's what I did,
Yeah.
and it tasted fantastic. Except I think it was too. Even the centre paste stuff was too loose, and it had some skin slip, and I don't know
Oh,
why
okay.
I did. Like what? How? Oh, and the other thing was when it was growing its white coat, its fur coat.
Yeah.
one flat surface of one of them didn't get any fur on it. It stayed black.
Oh, okay. All right. So a couple of things there. So skins, did you use geotrichum as well as Penicillium candidum?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that
I
should.
didn't use any Rock 40.
Oh, okay. So you just okay. So you didn't put any blue in the thing. Well, that shouldn't
No.
have any problems with it. Usually, skin slip means that proteolysis or the breakdown of the proteins is happening too fast, and the temperature's too high in the cheese cave. For goat's milk cheeses, they need to have a lower temperature because the cultures tend to act on them a lot faster because the proteins, I think it's higher in goat's milk than it is cow's milk.
Right.
Don't quote me on that, but I think that's right. But yeah, so goat's milk cheeses do. If you make bloomy goat's cheeses, they tend to have that. So I ripen those at around 7 to 8 degrees instead of 13, and that's because they come gooey under the surface, or just under the surface, just near the black ash. So, and you would have noticed that my ones had two different colors in the paste. I don't know how close I got with the photo. But in the inside, it was a bit chalky, which was perfect. And the
Yes.
outside was a little bit runny, which is perfect. That's how they're supposed to be. Because they're only mature for 10 days. You're lucky if you're going to get any. You're lucky if you get a total white mold covering in that 10 days. So now for the other one, what may have happened for the one that didn't, Penicillium candidum is not very tolerant to high salt content. So because I think they were dry salted, right? We
Yes,
put salt on the
I might
outside.
have
If we put
too
too much salt on it, the white mold doesn't grow properly.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, so you just got to be careful of that. So, but you don't want to undersalt. So as long as you use, so the rule of thumb is about 2% salt per weight of the curd. Okay, so it's very hard to. It's easy to figure out because we've got metrics. So, like yesterday, I made a gorgonzola, which we'll see the video of soon, and that was 1.152 kilograms, and to get 2%, it was 28 grams. It was simple mass. It's harder for the poor old Americans, of course, because they're using imperial. But
they don't have to make it difficult for themselves.
They could use metric. I'd put it in all my recipes. Easy. But yeah, it was easy to figure out 2% salt. So for the harder cheeses, though, it's a little bit higher. It's about 2.5 to 2.7. So
that's
too
what
much
happened.
Salt would stop the Penicillium candidum growing. So, and same as blue cheeses as well. That's why you don't find those sorts of cheeses very salty when you eat them, because you have a normal store-bought camembert. They're not very salty, not compared to say cheddar or a hard cheese or something like that. So that's the reason why.
Well, that's what. Now I know what's happened. I think I probably, accidentally put too much on that one surface, or in the one spot, or in the middle, or whatever.
Could have done.
And the fridge temperature will be the other thing, because I had other cheeses in there, and I picked that medium range, and it clearly didn't work.
Yeah. Okay, also, Penicillium candidum doesn't like really wet surfaces. So if it's really damp. If the surface of the cheese is really damp, it struggles to grow. It's got to feel like a clammy handshake. The surface of the cheese. That's the right. Just damp. You can't see any moisture on top. It just won't grow. So so there's some tips there.
Yeah, that'll be another one.
Hope this is helping.
Oh, this is fantastic. But you can see why I didn't want to hog the Sunday morning questions time.
Look, I've actually been talking to Kim, and because I spend most nights out here in the studio anyway, just, coming up with video ideas and playing games and stuff like that, I thought, well, why not help people? And if they want to pay me, that's fantastic. So
I'm very happy to.
Yeah.
But there's always, people with lots of questions on Sunday, and I didn't want to hog the joint. So I wanted to make a double batch of, no, hang on, what is it? I've got the square moulds for making the halloumi.
Right.
Oh no, hang on.
Feta
Sorry.
baskets.
Yes, I know you make yours and you flatten them out and you cut them and fold them up.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I was shown for cheese making was halloumi, and she made it in the baskets.
The rectangle baskets or the feta baskets?
She used the feta baskets, but I want to use the long, the longer ones and make a big one so I can slice off pieces for hamburgers and things like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I can't, and I tried it, and the things turned out, I don't know, maybe 3 inches. Tastes fabulous, but it isn't what I wanted. Is there a way to do it, or is it just I'm asking too much?
So the normal halloumi recipe doesn't use a mold at all. It just, you flatten it between two boards, right? That's what I do. And I find that the pressure with the 2 litres of milk on top, the 2 kilos, it makes it about, hang on, is it going to focus? Focus on my fingers, camera. About that
I
thick.
can see that.
Oh, about that. What's that, about an inch? 2.5 centimetres.
Inch and a half, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So, and that amount of time and that amount of pressure makes about that width, right? So I'm comfortable with, and then if I want them thicker, and all the Cypriots that I know, and I know a couple of them, they tell me that it's folded and it's got mint in the middle. I went, right, okay. Yeah. So that's what I'll do. And then you get the thickness, and then you can cut slices that way. So across, instead of having them that way, so when they're folded over, I then just slice down the side, and that's the bits we fry, and you get a bit with mint in it every single time. And when you depends on how pliable the halloumi is when you pulled it out of the hot water, the hot way, right? Because if you're using made by cow milk, then you probably would be able to fold it over and it wouldn't split in half. So it's probably flexible enough. Because I remember the first time I used it, back before they banned raw milk sale in milk bottles. That's how long I've been making cheese now, unfortunately. I used Jonesy's raw milk, and it folded over perfectly, just like it would have if I had used using raw milk, like the Cypriots do. And you can make it as thick as you want, I suppose. That's one way to do it. More pressure will do it. Put less curd in the basket and more pressure, and it'll get thinner.
So I've got square ones, and I've got oblong ones that are equal to 2 square ones.
Yeah.
And I used that and put it, in the cloth in one of those.
Yeah.
With the second one on top, and I found it perfectly fits our 1 litre, the Tetra Packs of stock.
Yeah, like UHT milk.
They just slip in perfectly. So I used 3 or 4 of those for the full basket. I can't remember, but something like that.
So maybe use less curd per basket and use more baskets if you want it thinner and longer. So it'll be the same length, but if you want less height, less curds. Easy. So more basket.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't get my hands on those anymore unless I buy them retail from Cheeselinks, and I can't pay retail prices. So our wholesalers have sold out of them. So yeah, because I used to get them from Bevy, who is Mad Millie, used to be rebranded. They used to sell them. I used to buy them in huge, hundreds of them, but they don't sell them anymore. I can't get my hands on them.
Okay, but, that doesn't matter.
But like I said, less curd, more baskets, or start using the feta baskets instead. If you've run out of the big long ones, just I've got feta baskets coming out my ears, so you can get as many of those as you want.
Well, I bought
and use those for halloumi.
Yes, I bought a slightly bigger square one for you, but I'd forgotten I had that when I actually made the last lot.
There you go. So there you go. So you can make them thinner, and they'll be perfect for hamburgers.
Yeah. Okay. And my big thing is, I know you say, and I know in my head that it will be a better outcome to use the flocculation technique. Yeah. But I had 2 goes at it, and I couldn't work it out, and I felt like I had it wrong, and I just reverted immediately to the time you'd given because and I don't know how to, I just couldn't work out in my head how to fix it, how, I didn't know whether I was holding the lid and giving it too much pressure to make it spin, and so it was spinning and it had already formed its curd, or I felt like I didn't
I'll give you some tips
have
if you
enough
want.
clues.
If not, so the timing method works fine. So I always leave times in there, right? And when I first started making cheese for the first 5 years, that's all I used, and it worked fine. I didn't have any problems with any of my cheese. And then I started having some issues with seasonal milk. So in summertime, the timings would work fine, and then winter they wouldn't. And I went, oh, okay, because I was starting to get milk that was from single source dairy instead of standardized milk, which is they take the fat out of it, they make it all the same protein level, the same.
They kill
level.
it.
Yeah. So the milk I was getting from Inglenook Dairy, it fluctuated a bit. So that's why I thought, look, there's got to be a method to do this, and it was flocculation. So when you spin the little thingo, right? So when you as soon as you put the rennet in, start the clock. Right, this is the easy way to do it. Put your little lid on top, or whatever, bottle cap, whatever you want, something that spins. Just give it a little twist. Don't have to apply too much pressure. If it spins, it spins. Soon as it stops, soon as you try to give it exactly the same flick and it goes like that, that's it. That's the flocculation point. There's no more science to it than that. And then you calculate, then times that amount of time in minutes by the factor that you're trying to make the cheese for, and that'll give you your total time, and then subtract the time you've already had. Right, so you've already got some time. And then the remaining time is how much rennet time you got left. That's it.
Right. I think I got a bit tired about it.
I had to do it.
And then I couldn't think.
For the video, I had to do it twice because I was the same. I went, how do I do this? Because I've never done it before. So I made 2 separate cheeses before I filmed it and did it. So I got it right as well. But practice makes perfect. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. You don't have to. There's no rule saying you have to.
But I could see that it was useful. And I thought I'd give it a go, and I couldn't make it work, and I thought I've missed something in here.
Yeah. But so just remember that the time amount that's taken, don't forget to subtract that off the total time.
No. Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise it'll set too firm or too weak or whatever. Yeah. So subtract the time that's already elapsed from the total time. And that amount of time left is how much time you got left to do it. And then if worse comes to worse, check for a clean break, then you'll know that it's right anyway.
Does that cause any, so if you go to test for a clean break and it's not yet set well enough for a curd, that cut's going to cause some whey bleed. Yeah, no, but it's not enough to worry about?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because you have a look in the when commercial cheesemakers do it, they shove their whole hand in there and split it up. So, and if it's not ready, they'll wait another 10 minutes. So,
but they know what they're doing.
So do we. Mate, a simple little cut with a knife's not going to spoil anything. It's no big deal.
No, right.
If you cut the whole lot and it goes all sloppy, then that's a big deal. But
that's a problem. That's definitely a problem.
I love all the goat's cheeses from Meredith Dairy, which is down near Ballarat.
Yes.
Down in between Ballarat and Geelong. And, they've got fantastic. In fact, I had some tonight, the marinated one, marinated goat's cheese. Oh, it's just divine. Just melts in the mouth. So, I'd love to make something like that. Even it's kind of like Persian feta. The Persian feta I made with cow's milk. But if I made it with goat's milk, it'd be soft and creamy like that. It'd be lovely. Yes.
I've made jars of that for Christmas presents.
Yeah, it's such a good cheese. Such a good cheese.
With this lady from Tarrawinji's goat's milk.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
So I'm quite happy about that. I kept a jar for ourselves, and I've tried it to make sure it was okay. And it's really nice.
Yeah. Even when it's made with cow's milk, it's delicious.
Yes, it is. I'd really like to have a crack at, or have you have a crack at, so that I could learn too, a harder goat's milk cheese. And I don't know they would be called, but ones that have got kind of the texture of like a manchego.
I've got a couple of recipes for goat gouda, which and it's really popular in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And they tend to age it for about 12 months. So, and it's got such a great flavour, and it's got those tyrosine crystals, the crunchy crystals in the
Oh yes,
cheese.
I like
So,
that.
yeah. So I do have a recipe for it, but if I can get my hands on some goat's milk, I'll make one. So,
Well, I'll make sure I go and find this
yeah, if you
lady's
can
details.
find that contact details, that'll be fantastic. I'll make some. Yeah.
All right. I'll do that. What was I going to say? So that's so people are getting a piece of halloumi, some Persian feta, and either a camembert or a chunk of kafili for Christmas.
Nice. That'll be lovely.
We love kafili.
Yeah. It's such a great cheese. That was one of my first discoveries, and I kind of cobbled the recipe together. We had this book. I don't even think they sell it anymore. It's by a guy called Tim Smith, and all the recipes were, shall I say, half-assed. So because all the measurements were wrong. They were, from what I know now, I look at all the measurements, and this kafili recipe came out of that book. And I used the measurements as it said in the book, even though I've looked at other kafili recipes and there's way too much rennet, way too much culture in it, too much salt. But that's the way I make it now because it tastes so bloody good, even though I know that the recipe's not, kosher, I suppose. But some people from Wales and Western England, the West Country, say to me that that's exactly how kafili tastes like. I went, great, fine.
My husband's from the West Country in England, and we had dinner with some friends, even though I'm not sure where Julian comes from.
Yeah.
But we took a piece of cheese as our, this is what we bought with the bottle of wine sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I said to Julian, it's a Welsh cheese, because nobody I've spoken to knows what kafili is.
Yeah.
And I said, this is a Welsh cheese. And Julian makes his own beer, and he's a Morris dancer. He's a great bloke.
Yeah.
And he went, this isn't a kafili, is it, Wendy? Oh, well, now that you say that, Julian, yes, it is.
Of course.
And a few days later, I got an email from him saying, this is just as I remember it as a kid in England.
Oh, there you go. So the salt content is right then. That's good.
Yes, and he's the only person who's ever made anything that's remotely resembles a beer that I would have more than half a glass of.
Nice.
So that's I don't know what it was. It was black and it wasn't stout, but it was black and thick, and it had a big creamy foam head on it.
Yeah, I used to make lots of beer.
Quite nice. Yeah.
I used to make lots of beer until my tummy got too big, so I kind of don't partake too much in beer now. But it does. That's what it happens. Yeah, it really is. How many? You got any more questions?
No, I think that's covered all the ones I've got for the moment. Have you got things you should tell me that I haven't asked, or have we run out of time?
No, we've still got 20 minutes. So, with everything cheese making, take it slowly. Always make sure that, and you've been making cheese long enough to know this probably anyway, but everything must be in its place. It's like, what's the French called? Mise en place. So everything in its place before you start.
Yeah.
And you've seen that in my videos. When I do show it, I have all my utensils set out. I've got everything measured out first. Even before I pour the milk in the bloody pot, everything's got to be there. So I know exactly. I don't go rushing, I haven't sterilized something, halfway through. Yeah, that's where a lot of newbie cheesemakers come unstuck. But you've made enough cheeses now to figure that out. But I always say it because so many people just don't do it. They just fly by the seat of their pants trying to make cheese. It just doesn't work.
Well, young Shona's done a bit of that. She the first cheese she made.
That's your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's a fabulous kid, but there's some things she's really precise about, and other things she's bugger it, that'll do.
yeah,
And she's a bit bugger it, that'll do with the cheese. And one of the other than making halloumi and feta, she thought, I'll have a go at a parmesan, and it didn't work. And it was 12 months down the track before she realised that all of her efforts, or not 12 months, I don't know, it was a long way,
yeah,
before her efforts didn't work. And then she said something else didn't happen. And I said, Shani, you must be scrupulous. You've got to boil the crap out of everything. You have to sanitize everything, and
yeah,
you can't go cooking anything else while you're doing it, mate.
exactly.
And same as us, she makes her own ginger beer, and she's a wonderful sourdough bread maker. I said to her, you can't have them there. You've got to put those two in the spare, what's she got? One of those spare kitchen rooms. What do they call them?
I don't know, butler's pantry?
Yeah,
No?
something like that. She's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
another room where she could do. I said, you have to put them in there or put the cheese in there. You
Right,
can't
too many
have
yeast
them in the
flying
same
around.
space.
Yeah, yeah.
No. But she lives where they got burnt in New South Wales, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And that they were fine. They saved the house, and just the back of their shed got burnt, and they lost the tractor and mower and a shipping container, a few things. But her neighbours lost everything.
Oh, that's shocking.
Yeah, and they're a couple, probably 70, and 40 years they've been living there, and they had a food forest. They grew everything they
Yeah,
ate.
yeah.
So they had their own pigs, they had their own geese, they had their own ducks, chickens, all manner of anything that you could get out of the ground, and they lost everything. And so since the fires, since those people moved back into a shipping container while they planned and built a house, and that both of them have health issues and only eat sourdough bread. Shoney's been making them 2 or 3 loaves of sourdough every week for all of that
lovely.
time.
That's lovely.
Yeah, she's a good kid. And the sourdough doesn't mind a bit of bugger it, it still
No, it
goes
doesn't
on.
care. It's very flexible.
Yeah, but the cheese isn't quite that flexible, is it?
No, you may end up with cheese, but it won't be the one you planned to start it off with.
Exactly.
It's very precise.
Yeah, so I'm taking a bloomy goat and some camemberts up there for Christmas. Oh, and some kafili as well.
Yeah.
And I said, Shona, if everything has got to be scrubbed perfectly, and then you won't have a problem.
Yeah, that's right.
But
yeah.
I think because she works full time, and things just get really busy, and she just does what she can, and she hasn't quite worked out that that's not quite enough for this sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe she stick to the soft cheeses, because they're very forgiving, but you got to eat them within 2 weeks. So
yeah, she's not. She doesn't like what she calls mouldy cheeses, because some idiot told her when she was a child, when she was eating camembert, did you know that's just mould? And she just went, and that was it. I never got her to eat it again. So she'll eat, cheddars and she loves kafili or, harder cheeses, but she won't touch a camembert. Her husband will, but and his family.
Which is a shame, because the flavors are just amazing.
I know.
Especially when you make them with raw milk, like you are with the made by cow. The flavors are so much better than pasteurized, homogenized milk. It just astounded me, the flavor difference. It was great.
Well, we don't buy any other kind of milk now. That's what we use to drink, or put on cereal or stuff like that.
Yeah.
We just buy made by cow, because like Duncan says, we haven't got enough life to waste on drinking cheap wine and crappy milk.
Yeah, and crappy cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've given that up long ago.
That's right. Yeah. Well, look, I still buy cheese, because I want to try to replicate that flavor if I can. It's getting a little bit easier for me now, but not. I'm far from being a master cheesemaker.
I don't want to be.
No, neither do I. I could go and do one of those courses that go for 2 years, and and figure out how to become an artisan cheesemaker and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but I'd lose the joy out of it. The joy now is making the cheese and making it so other people can replicate, whether it's a failure or not, people get it. So they'll learn, otherwise. So it's just good fun.
Yeah, well,
good hobby.
I have a good time doing it, and that's, there's just Duncan and I at home now. So he's just, when I'm doing cheese making, we have things like soup for dinner. I don't do cooking in the kitchen, and don't you dare go near the sink, keep away from the sink.
That's right. Stay away from my sanitized sink. Everybody knows that too. That's right. Go and wash your hands in the bathroom or whatever. Get the water from the sink outside, the tap outside. Yeah. Well, I hear you. That's what I do. Because I'm hogging the whole sink area anyway. They can't get anything there anyway. So, anyway.
No, well, and I do love. I missed Sunday morning because we had a birthday to go to, and I missed last week because I didn't get a notice. I wasn't sure you were there or whether Kim was well enough for you to be there, and I missed it.
Yeah, I've been trying to do it since she's felt a bit better. Anyway, since I moved to this studio, which is just the office in the backyard that we had built, and you probably saw the video for that anyway. But I can keep the dogs in here without too much. If you've seen the replay, I had to get out of shot about 3 bloody times to let them go out for a wee.
I haven't yet.
They were a bit demanding this Sunday morning. But yeah, you're not the first person that said to me that they didn't get a notification for last week's video. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there with YouTube. Sometimes it's perfect, and I got a notification, but I've got it set for desktop notifications. So if you're not logged on anywhere, you don't get a notification. You can get notifications via email as well. You can set that in your YouTube settings. So
yes,
So usually that comes about 15 minutes
Saturday
before.
Night anyway. So
Pardon?
Saturday night before I go to bed, I just check.
Yeah. Most of the time we haven't been when Kim's been sick, but and she's going to moderate again this weekend. So thank God, I'll be able to do some links and stuff like that. Unlike before, which was a pain in the butt.
I get up, I make my cup of tea, I get my muesli and kefir, and I go to the computer in my nightie, and I have a lovely morning.
Mate, well, I suppose it's kind of what I do, but I'm at the opposite end.
I just think you've at least got proper clothes on.
Well, true. I haven't made an episode in my pajamas yet, but you don't know what's down below. You don't know if I've got my pajama bottoms and my Ugg boots on. So
that could be.
Cold mornings I might have.
Especially in winter.
Oh, definitely. It was freezing cold out here. I had to bloody have the air conditioner on the whole time, the heater. So, but then it makes too much noise and you can't record when it's too noisy.
Yeah, white noise and stuff. No.
Yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed every one of them, and I always use the videos, and I still have to read through the recipe in the ebook.
Yeah.
And then I make sure I've got the video there just in case I can't remember what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, I found that so many people. One of the reasons I started the channel was because I couldn't find any videos of people making cheese. So, and I'm a visual learner. I'll remember things better if I've seen what they are. So if I read a recipe in a book, that's why when I read the recipes by Jim Wallace, the ones on cheesemaking.com, and he's got heaps of recipes. I've been using quite a few lately because I've run out of recipes in my books, or I've used them all. So trying to find new cheeses, I had to go there. Anyway, the way he writes is so difficult to understand. So I have to try and find a video that the commercial cheesemakers have made or somebody's filmed them, and kind of get tips from that, and then read his recipe again and then figure it out. So I got to read it like 4 times, to understand what he's saying. Whereas the way I write a recipe, it's exactly how you do it.
Yes,
and don't throw any fluff in there at all. And so do as I say and it works, if that makes sense. I don't try to be
I found that the
correct.
first time I made the camembert, I was so surprised that it actually worked. Not because I doubted you, but I didn't think I could do it.
Yeah. But that's why I keep everything in layman terms. I don't put in the technicalities on why things, too much science behind it. I just keep it simple, like a baking a cake. If you can bake a cake, you can make cheese with my recipes. That's why I did it that way. So
no, I'm having a great time doing it. So thank you very, very much.
You're most welcome, Wendy. You're most welcome indeed. You're not the only person that's told me that, and it really does encourage me to keep going and keep filming the Sunday morning shows and to do all the cheese video. Like this weekend, I spent the whole weekend making cheese. It was great because Kim's well enough to not need any supervision and stuff like that. So it's really good. And next weekend, I'm going to be making 2 cheeses as well. So there'll be lots of videos out soon.
All right. I have not had a chance in the past week and a bit to look at anything really.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy like that, isn't it?
I want to know, how come we've been stuck at home for all this time and I've achieved next to nothing?
Oh, I don't know about you, but I have.
Well, I haven't. Someone said, I've cleaned out these cupboards. I went, oh, no, I'm not that desperate yet.
No, I don't do stuff like that.
No.
Because we've got a home-based business. We're always busy, kind of.
Yeah, and more so, I would think.
Yeah. But, yeah, especially during the pandemic, when Melbourne first went into lockdown, that was our best month of profit ever. So that, I think it was April and May, I think it was, in 2020. People just went crazy. And just, they must have bought all the jigsaws out, so they started cheesemaking. I don't know what's going on. But,
well, you couldn't buy a jigsaw for love nor money.
No, that's right. So all the kits were sold out within a week. They announced the lockdown, the first one, and it kind of just went fairly set. We haven't had ads on. Well, really, we couldn't anyway because I'm the only one driving the business at the moment. But because of Kim's illness, we made as much money without ads on last year as we did with the year before with ads on. So that's and we saved a fortune in ad revenue. But we're going to have to do it again in 22 because lockdowns are lifted.
Things have changed again.
So we'll have to go back to a different business model. So, but
it's interesting that some people have found that the pandemic benefited their small business, and others have just been crushed by it.
Yeah, I think anybody that was in hospitality and couldn't do takeaway, entertainment, the arts, anything artish. But if they were willing to adapt and change and go online, like things like this, then because normally you'd have, back in the old days, we would have had a face-to-face and asked who needs that anymore? You don't need to. So
I don't know. It's still nice, I think, to actually see someone in 3D.
It is, but you can get away with it, I think, just as easy, especially when I'm talking to people all over the world. I've got an audience, not just Melbourne. I can influence people all over the world, which is fantastic, and it really brings me joy, especially the amount of subscribers. What am I up to now? 284,000. So that's more than, what's that? 2.5 MCGs full of people watch the video. If you haven't got any more questions, we can call it a wrap if you want.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you so much for all of your help.
That's all right. No problems, Wendy. Hopefully you've learnt something. I think you have.
Lots of things.
And if you want to set up another session anytime, just drop me an email, or we can do the same sort of thing.
Yeah, when I first contacted you, it was because I was having a panic about the bloomy goat things, and I just couldn't work it out, and I thought I had it wrong, and they were going to be ruined and that. And then when I found out Kim was unwell, I thought, it's a cheese, don't worry about it, and so I just.
And it probably worked out anyway, didn't it?
It did.
Besides that one that wasn't so good.
Yeah, no, it worked out fine. But the next one will be a bit better.
Cheese is a bit forgiving that way, I think. If you've got all the basics right, it kind of the mold will grow eventually, and the flavour will be there eventually. Sometimes just take a little bit longer. Depends on the temperature as well. That
Or
determines
you
how
might
long
get a
things.
different cheese, but it'll still be quite edible.
That's right, indeed. That I always say that.
Yeah.
Good on you, Wendy.
Thanks so much. And I won't speak personally to you again, but I'll be on Sunday mornings. But both you and Kim and all your family have a fantastic Christmas. And God, next year's just got to be better. So stay safe, keep well, have a great Christmas, and thank you for everything that you do for us.
Thanks very much, Wendy. And a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and your family too.
Thanks, Gavin.
That's all right.
Thanks for
See you
setting
later.
this up. Bye now.
No problems at all. Bye-bye. So thanks for watching and listening, Curd Nerds. You can find my cheese making video tutorials on my YouTube channel, cheeseman.tv, or just search YouTube for Gavin Weber. You can get your cheese making kits, supplies and equipment over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. If you would like a personalised message from me, I am available to book via Cameo. Just go to cameo.com/cheesemantv. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode of the Little Green Cheese Podcast. During this podcast, you heard royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. I played Malt Shop Bop and Call to the Dairy Cows. Bye.